Welcome to the HFY Codex Tale. If you like our videos, keep supporting and subscribe to our channel. The form he didn't read. Eli just wanted free food. He didn't have a lot of credits left. The space station food court was overpriced, and his rent was due in 4 days. So when he saw a blinking sign that read, Civilian AID registration, 1,000 credits plus housing bonus. He didn't think twice. He walked into the office, filled out the form, signed his name at the bottom, and left. He didn't read the fine print. He didn't notice the warning in small glowing letters. Warning, submission equals interspecies bond acknowledgement. 2 days later, someone knocked on his apartment door. Eli, wearing only socks and a stained t-shirt, opened it without checking the screen. He froze. Standing outside was a tall, elegant alien girl. Her skin was light blue, her eyes like silver glass, and her long dark hair was braided with glowing threads. She wore armor that looked ceremonial, more royal than military. And in her hands was a glowing scroll. "Eli Stone?" she asked calmly. "Oh, yeah." She unrolled the scroll and bowed slightly. "By universal agreement under Form 9B, species interlink bond is complete. I belong to you now." Eli blinked, then blinked again. "What?" "Your form was accepted. The match was confirmed. My name is Sayla. I am your bonded." "My what now?" "Bonded mate, I am yours forever." Eli backed up slowly. Wait. Is this a prank? Is this some weird intergalactic dating scam?" Sayla tilted her head. "I do not scam, I serve. I have trained in human bonding customs. I am ready to begin cohabitation." "Cohabi? No, I just signed a food voucher form." She stepped forward into his apartment like she already lived there. "Yes, Form 9B civilian bonding match request. You signed and submitted it. The contract was processed. I was assigned." Eli stared at her. She looked serious. Too serious. "Look, Sayla," he said slowly, "I think there's been a mistake." "I do not make mistakes. I passed compatibility review. I scored 93% on human emotion understanding, and I made you tea." She handed him a small, warm cup. It smelled like cinnamon and honey. "Wait, you've been here before." "Yes, I entered your apartment yesterday to analyze your sleeping habits. You snore softly. It is acceptable." Eli almost dropped the tea. "You watch me sleep." "Yes, I must know your rhythms if I am to serve as proper mate." "This is insane." "No, this is binding." He sat down on his couch, hands on his head. This wasn't happening. He just wanted food and housing support. Now there was an alien girl, unpacking a glowing satchel in his living room. She placed small orbs on the shelves, strange cloth over the table, and a device that made a soft, humming sound near the bed. "What is that?" he asked. "Bonding aura stabilizer," she said calmly. "It helps lower tension during first contact." "I'm not tense. Your heart rate is 30% above normal." He pointed at the scroll still floating near her. "What does it say exactly?" She tapped it. A screen opened up. "Match accepted, Eli Stone species. Human status, primary bond holder. Partner SEYLA Trenvar species, THRLLIN status, ASSI Jenny D mate." There was even a glowing heart icon next to their names. Eli groaned. "Is there a way to undo this?" Sayla looked down, and for the first time, her face changed. Not anger. Not confusion. Just a quiet kind of sadness. "If you wish to break the bond, I will leave. My people will mark me unchosen. I will not bond again." Eli froze. Something about the way she said it. Like it wasn't just a contract to her. Like it meant more. He stood up. "Okay, look, I don't know what I signed, but I didn't mean to hurt you." "You did not hurt me," she said softly. "You called me forward, and I came." For a long moment, they stood in silence. She looked at him, not with ownership, but with hope. And that was what scared him most. Not the contract, not the glowing tech, not the weird tea. Just the idea that maybe this was real, and she actually wanted to stay. The alien girl in his living room. Eli woke up to the smell of something strange. It wasn't eggs, it wasn't coffee. It smelled like burnt flowers and hot metal. He rolled out of bed and shuffled into the kitchen. And there she was, Sayla, wearing one of his t-shirts, way too big for her slim, tall frame, and standing in front of his stove, holding a pan that was bubbling bright green. "Good morning, Bonded," she said with a soft nod. "That's my favorite shirt," Eli muttered. "Then I am honored to wear it." He looked at the pan. "What is that?" "Breakfast. It's a traditional Threlian bonding dish, made from moss beans, root gel, and fire-spiced nectar sacs." "Uh-huh, and does it usually bubble like that?" "Only when it's ready." The pan exploded softly with a pop. A sweet-sour smell filled the air. Eli gagged. Sayla smiled proudly and placed a glowing plate in front of him. "You don't have to do this," he said, sitting down. "Do what?" "Act like we're together. We're not. This was a form mistake. I'm going to talk to the station clerk today." Sayla's face didn't change. She nodded politely. "You may cancel the bond if you wish. I will not stop you." "Good," Eli said. But then she added, "However, I will still make you breakfast. It is important that you stay healthy until your decision is final." Eli blinked. "You're serious?" "Yes, a bonded does not abandon their duty halfway." He pushed the glowing green food around with a spoon. "You know you're not really my type, right?" "That is acceptable. I will adjust my appearance if required." "Wait, what?" Sayla placed a small crystal on the table. Her skin shimmered briefly, then turned a warm bronze. Her eyes shifted to green. Eli dropped his spoon. "Okay, that's both amazing and kinda terrifying." "I will note that." Later that day, Eli went to the station registry office, dragging Sayla with him. The board clerk behind the glass window scanned his ID. "Form 9B, yep, it's official." "But I thought it was a food form." "Yeah, that's Form 9D you signed B, classic mistake." "Can I cancel it?" "Sure, if your bonded agrees to a mutual release." Eli turned to Sayla. "Please." She paused. Her voice was soft. "Are you asking or ordering?" "I'm asking." She looked down, then up again. "Then no, not yet." On the walk back to his unit, Eli stayed quiet. Sayla walked beside him like she belonged there. People stared. An alien female walking with a human male, bonded. Some gave curious looks, others gave disapproving ones. Eli didn't care about the looks. What bothered him was how normal she acted. Like she had always been part of his life. Back at the apartment, she took off her boots and sat on the couch. Then she asked the question he didn't expect. "May I ask something personal?" Sure." "Why were you alone when you signed the form?" Eli blinked. "What kind of question is that?" "Threlians do not bond without deep intention. Something in your file matched me." Eli looked away. "I guess I was just tired of being alone." "Then maybe," she said softly. "The form wasn't wrong." Eli said nothing. He turned on the TV. She sat quietly beside him. After a few minutes, she asked, "What does Netflix and chill mean?" Eli almost choked on his drink. "Let's not start with that one." She thinks he's testing her. Sayla stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her braid for the third time. She had looked up a human phrase the night before. Playing hard to get. And now she thought she understood. "He must be testing my bond," she whispered, "to see if I truly belong to him." So she prepared a daily loyalty offering, just like in her culture. A warm drink, a silent moment by his side, and an act of service. Meanwhile, Eli sat on the couch, staring at the ceiling. He hadn't slept well. Ever since Sayla moved in, everything had changed. She was polite, strange, thoughtful, quiet. Too quiet sometimes. But the worst part was, he was starting to enjoy her being around. Even if she still called him Bonded, like it was his last name. That morning when he walked into the kitchen, he found the table fully set. The lights were dimmed, Music was playing, soft Threllian flute tones. Sayla stood there in a full ceremonial robe, holding a glass of golden liquid. "For your approval," she said. Eli stared. "Is this a wedding?" "No," she said calmly. "Loyalty day 1, I begin your emotional test now." "Wait, my what?" "You are observing my reactions, judging my worth. I accept this trial." "No, no, no, I'm not testing you. I'm just trying to figure things out." She nodded. A classic human deception tactic, understood. Over the next few days, things got weirder. Day 2, she recited a poem she wrote about his eyes. Day 3, she cleaned his whole apartment using small, glowing dust orbs. Day 4, she stood outside the bathroom door for 2 hours, in case he needed protection while vulnerable. Eli finally snapped on day 5. "Sayla, you don't have to keep doing this." She stood perfectly still. "Then have I failed?" "No, there's no test." She looked at him, confused. "But you don't talk about your emotions. You avoid direct eye contact. You sigh when I enter the room. These are listed in Threllian bonding tests." "That's not a test. That's just me being awkward." "Oh." There was silence. She looked disappointed. "So I've made a fool of myself." "No," Eli said softly. "You've been trying really hard, and honestly, I'm the one who's been acting like a jerk." She blinked. "You are not a jerk. You don't even know what that means." "I searched it last night. It means someone who avoids kindness." He looked down. She stepped forward. "You are not avoiding kindness. You are afraid of accepting it." That hit him harder than he expected. "Why are you doing all this, Sayla?" "Because I was alone for many years," she said softly. "And I thought I would never be chosen, until your form appeared, and when I saw your name, I felt something. You didn't even know me. But I wanted to." Eli sat down slowly. His heart beat louder than usual. "Okay," he said. "Let's stop the testing. Let's stop the rituals. Just be here, be normal." "I do not know how to be normal." "Then let's be weird together." She smiled, a small, gentle smile. "Agreed." That night, Eli found a folded note on his pillow. It said, "Day 6, I am still here, not because I must be, but because I want to be." Sayla. He held the note for a long time. And for the first time since this all began, he didn't want her to leave. He tries to end it and regrets it. Eli stared at the release form. It glowed softly on his tablet screen. One signature, that's all it needed. And Sayla would be free. No more glowing tea. No more strange questions. No more feelings he didn't understand. She had been in his life for 2 weeks now. Not just in his space. In his routines. His quiet mornings. His awkward dinners. His weird, half-silent conversations that somehow made the room feel warmer. But now, the weight was getting to him. Not because she was a problem, but because she was real. And he wasn't sure he was ready for that. That evening, he walked into the living room holding the tablet. Sayla was sitting cross-legged on the floor, building some kind of alien puzzle, bright, floating pieces that clicked together in midair. She looked up and smiled softly. "Did you want to help?" He hesitated. "No, I need to talk to you." She stood quickly, her braid swinging behind her. "Is something wrong?" He held out the tablet. "This is the bond release." She looked at it. Didn't touch it. Didn't ask why. Just stared. "You want me to leave?" "I think maybe this was all a mistake." She nodded slowly. "And you no longer wish for my presence?" "I don't know what I want," he said honestly. "But I think you deserve someone who's sure." Sayla took a step forward, then stopped. "Then I will go." She didn't cry. She didn't argue. She placed one small glowing object, a memory crystal, on the shelf by the door. "This holds my words. I was going to give it to you later, but now you may choose if you want to hear them." She bowed once. "Thank you for being the first human who saw me." Then she walked out, and the door closed. The silence hit harder than he expected. He stood there, still holding the tablet, still unsure, until the quiet started to feel like loss. He looked at the shelf. The crystal shimmered. He picked it up, touched it, and her voice filled the room. You are messy, uncertain, sometimes afraid of your own kindness. But you made me laugh. You made me feel like I mattered. And if this was just a mistake, then it was the best one I've ever known. Eli sat down, and he finally realized it wasn't just her who made this place feel alive. It was them together. He jumped to his feet, grabbed his coat, and ran to the station terminal. Where is she? He asked the clerk. Who? The Threllian girl who just released a bond. The clerk tapped a screen. Transport dock, ship leaves in 10 minutes. Eli ran. He reached the docking area, breathless. Crowds moved everywhere, but he saw her. She stood in line, quiet, her shoulders heavy, her glow dimmer than before. Sayla, he called out. She turned. Her eyes widened. He walked up fast. Don't go. You asked me to. I was wrong. Why? He smiled, out of breath, eyes full of something he hadn't said out loud yet. Because I signed the wrong form. He stepped closer. But I think it led me to the right person. Sayla looked at him for a long moment. Then nodded. Then let us write a new one, together. The flight he had to stop. The starship's engines were humming softly. Passengers stood in a quiet line, scanning their boarding passes. Sayla clutched hers tightly. Her fingers didn't shake, but her heart did. Not because she was scared to leave, but because part of her didn't want to. She stepped forward. The scanner lit up blue. Passenger 817, cleared for departure. She took one more step toward the boarding gate. And then, Sayla, the voice cut through the terminal like thunder. She turned. Everyone turned. Eli ran through the crowd, pushing past travelers, gasping for breath. His hair was messy, his coat was unzipped, and his eyes were full of fire. Don't go, he said. Not yet, not like this. Sayla stared at him. You changed your mind. No, he said, stepping closer. I changed my heart. She tilted her head, unsure. You said I deserve someone sure. I wasn't sure before, but when you left. He paused, searching for words. It felt like oxygen vanished from my apartment, from my life. So now you want to restore the bond. He shook his head. No, I don't want the old bond. She frowned. Then why are you here? He looked her in the eyes. Because I don't want a form to tell us who we are. I want to choose you for real, without rules, without paperwork. Silence stretched between them. Then Sayla said something that surprised even her. Then do I get to choose too? Eli blinked. Of course, you always did. No, she said. Threllian bonds are automatic. We are assigned. We serve. We don't choose. Until now. She stepped toward him. Until now. She held up the old glowing scroll. And with a single press, she burned it in her palm. The fire was blue and cold. The symbol of their bond faded into dust. Now we are free, she said softly. So what happens next? Eli asked. She looked up at him. Then she offered her hand. You walk beside me, not as master, not as owner, not as contract, but as equal. He smiled and took her hand. Then let's write our own version. Back at the apartment, the lights were dim. No contracts, no uniforms, no titles. Just two people sitting on the floor, laughing over badly cooked noodles and warm tea. So no more bonded, Eli? He asked. Only if you miss the title. Maybe a little, he joked. Then I can whisper it, she teased. Only when we're alone. He nearly choked on his drink. She handed him a fresh notepad and a pen. For the new form, she said. He read the heading. Things I want us to learn together. He smiled and wrote the first line. How to love without fear. She added the second. How to stay even when we're scared. And somewhere across the galaxy, two systems logged their bond as canceled. But something much stronger was now growing. Unwritten, unforced, real. The second bond, the Threlian homeworld, was nothing like Eli imagined. Tall crystal towers shimmered under a sky with two suns. The air smelled like honey and cold wind. The people walked in silence, graceful, proud, watching everything. And they were watching him. Sayla walked beside him wearing a soft silver robe. Not armor, not duty gear. This time, she wasn't a servant of the bond. She was someone who had chosen him. But now, her people wanted to see why. They don't like me much, do they? Eli whispered as they stepped into a large hall made of light and glass. They don't understand you, Sayla said gently. Yet. At the end of the hall, three elders stood on a high platform. Their skin shimmered like stars, and their eyes glowed softly. You were once her master by law, the center elder said. Now you claim to be her equal, prove it. Eli looked at Sayla. She gave him a small nod. What do I have to do? He asked. A younger Threlian stepped forward and handed him a glowing crystal. Hold it and speak your truth. It will show your heart. That's it. If you lie, the elder added, you will not survive. Eli's throat went dry. Oh, cool. He held the crystal in his hands. It felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Then he spoke. I didn't mean to bond with Sayla. I was hungry and broke and stupid. A small glow pulsed from the crystal. I tried to send her away. I told myself I didn't need anyone. I was wrong. The glow pulsed again, brighter. She made my home feel alive. She made my silence feel warm. She made me feel seen. And I never wanted that from a form. I wanted it from a real connection. He looked up at the elders. So no, I didn't choose her first. He turned to Sayla. But I'm choosing her now, every day, every time. The crystal turned white and shattered in his hands. Sayla gasped. Is that bad? The elder stepped forward. That's the rarest bond truth we've ever seen. Is that good? That is real. Later that night, they walked along the sky bridge above Sayla's city. Eli stared out at the glowing horizon. I thought they'd make me fight a monster or something. You already did, Sayla said. When you stopped running from love. She held out her hand, and he took it without question. In Threlian custom, she said, a second bond is never forced. It is spoken between hearts. No contracts, no law. Then let's do it, he smiled. Are you sure? Yeah, he whispered. Because this time, I read every word. They stood together beneath a blue moon, their hands glowing faintly. No scrolls. No mistakes. Just one sentence from each of them. I see you. I choose you. And far above the stars, a satellite updated their records. New status, unofficially bonded, officially in love. She's not just his anymore, he's hers too. The station lights felt colder than Eli remembered. He and Sayla stepped off the transport ship, hand in hand. No guards this time. No glowing scrolls. No misunderstanding. Just the two of them, equal, open, and unafraid. People stared, of course. Humans, Threlians, even a few diplomats. Some whispered. Some pointed. But neither of them flinched. Sayla walked tall. Eli walked proud. Because they weren't hiding anymore. At the registry desk, the same bored clerk blinked at their arrival. You two again? He asked, raising an eyebrow. No forms today, Eli said with a smile. We're not here for paper. So what are you here for? Sayla stepped forward, her voice steady. To confirm our bond, not as law but as truth. The clerk looked confused. That's not really how this works. Eli tapped the counter. Then maybe it's time the system changed. They left without another word. And when they passed the old bonding office, Eli saw something that made him laugh. There, taped to the wall, was a big red notice. Please read before signing any form. He turned to Sayla. Too little, too late. She smiled, but still funny. Later, they returned to Eli's small apartment, still messy, still familiar. Sayla placed her favorite memory crystal on the shelf again, but this time not as a guest. As home, they sat on the couch, wrapped in a shared blanket, a warm drink between them. The stars outside blinked quietly. Sayla leaned her head against his shoulder. Back then, she whispered, I said I belonged to you. Yeah, Eli said softly. But now I know that's only half of the truth. He looked at her. She turned to him, her silver eyes glowing gently. You belong to me too. Eli didn't reply right away. He just smiled, leaned in, and kissed her forehead. Yeah, he whispered. I do. And somewhere across the galaxy, 1,000 different species would one day hear the story. Of the human who signed the wrong form, and the alien girl who turned that mistake into something unforgettable. Not a contract, not a command, but something far more rare. A choice, a bond, a forever. The end dizzy.